Arr.
It's Romanian Night.
Hello.
These are our best Dracula.
Is anybody there yet?
So it's Thursday.
It's Thursday.
Thursday the 20th. Hi.
Ah, is that you?
Judula.
Pamula. And Finula.
No, cheese spread.
Have anybody there? Is anybody listening?
So it's ping just on to 7 o'clock.
Okay.
So we'll have to have a little cheers, shall we?
I think so.
You know, there's been
Dracula.
Cheers.
Spent a long time doing my makeup this evening, as you can see.
A little bit more Joker than Dracula, but there we go.
Oh my goodness, doggy. If only you could drink wine, you'd love this.
You would really love this.
Is anybody joining us this evening?
Oh, there is the mystery. There is the mystery.
Maybe to
because
be fair,
it is.
It's not the 30th of October, is it?
No, but it's as close as we can get to Dracula.
Yeah, absolutely.
With a bit of old face paint in the cupboard. So it is Romanian night. We realised suddenly that actually this is really quite frightening. It's like Halloween on a Thursday.
What better way to finish our summer tastings than with a little bit of mystical myth and legend, which is the Dracula.
Indeed, and our lovely Romanian wine. So good evening. Give us a wave if you're there.
Yeah. Evening Jude, evening Finn. We are Hannibal Brown. We don't normally look like this, but it is a celebration of Romanian wines this evening. Yeah,
and also our last tasting for a wee while. So we want your lasting memory to be this.
Yeah, indeed. So what are we doing? What are we talking about?
Well, Romania, we have two stunning wines, both indigenous grape varieties.
Indeed.
Which we will talk about very shortly. We've got a big bit of info about Romania as a whole because we do like to bang the drum about slightly more unusual countries of origin.
Yeah.
And Romania being an absolute classic example. So Hannibal Brown, we're all about exploring wines from unusual places, or maybe even unusual wines from more usual places.
And we do rather unusual things.
Indeed.
But here's the thing, actually. This is the last of our summer virtual wine tastings. Don't all cheer at once, everybody.
Thursdays are back.
Anybody who knows, we've been doing this since the beginning of lockdown, and we've knocked up 35 tastings. Can you believe it? So all of those of you who have actually held on with us, thank you very much indeed.
Indeed,
Say that again in a second.
There's been an awful lot. Hi, Alice.
35 tastings.
Yeah,
that's something. We've travelled the world with Hannibal Brown, exploring great wines.
From India to Greece.
To Lebanon.
To South Africa.
To Chile.
And all over.
And
beyond.
India.
But yes, tonight is Romanian night. So as a nod to Dracula, in this kind of slightly unseasonal attempt at, I guess, just putting a bit of fun into it, because we've got our balloons. It's a bit of a party. It's an end of season.
Yeah.
We have our lovely white Romanian wine that we're starting with this evening.
Yeah.
Which is the grape variety is called Tamaiosa Romanesca.
Say that when you've had a few glasses. Tamaiosa Romanesca.
In fact, try to read it. Absolutely impossible.
Indeed.
But I guess, should we get up a little quick map?
I think so. Evening, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Last of the summer tastings. More to come. Don't worry. We're going to Romania, hence the
nod to the dark side of Transylvania. So here we are. Here's a map.
Everybody know where Romania is? Let's have a little
to familiarise yourself. So that is Europe. I hope you all realise that.
Here we go.
Just zoom in a bit. There we are. Romania, above Bulgaria.
It's an enormous country.
In fact, it's about 5 times the size of Wales.
It's had a right old time, though. It's had a rotten old time. I tell you what, if you live in the middle of Europe, you get bashed from all sides, don't you?
Indeed, yeah. And I mean, they've also got poor little Moldova, which is now its own country in its own right, which is the pink blob at the top right-hand corner of Romania.
Yeah.
You know, do you think Romania's been bashed? Moldova's been here, there, and everywhere. But actually, interesting fact about Moldova.
Let's have an interesting fact about Moldova.
Moldova produced the most wine per capita in the entire world.
I love that. So we always ask the question, who consumes the most wine per capita? And it is
Surely everyone knows by now. In fact, it could have even changed, to be honest with you. But Andorra.
It probably has changed over the summer. It probably has.
Everyone has changed, I think. Thank you, Penny.
Yeah.
We thought we'd make a little effort as a nod to old Dracula.
Yeah.
So there is Romania. It's got
Moldova. Just to reiterate that, because that's quite something. This tiny little country produces more wine per capita than anywhere in the world. It's phenomenal. It's phenomenal.
And actually, quite good wines. We have tasted some. We don't list them at the moment, but
which
there we are again.
Passes this straight back onto actually, you don't see an awful lot of Moldovan wine in the supermarkets here. You don't see very much Romanian wine. You see a little bit, but not an awful lot. Basically because they don't export an awful lot. And Romania, whilst being So
here's a really good sentence that I read a wee while ago, and I've written down because I want to get it right. So Romania, they do make a lot of wine. So Romania make more wine than New Zealand, Greece, and Hungary, but they export less than the likes of Denmark, Slovakia, and Bulgaria. Yeah. They only actually export, well, as of 2018, they only export 3.5% of their entire production, which is really tiny.
Yeah.
At least they do drink quite a lot there. So.
And they import a lot more.
And they also import a lot.
Because they do consume an awful lot of wine.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they are, I'm not sure where they rank in the world in terms of per capita, but in terms of entire countries, 14th in the world for pure wine consumption.
Yeah. So how come they make wine?
Well, they
have so many vines.
Yeah, and they've got so many vines.
Where did they come from? Those lovely Greeks again.
Greece, who are responsible for everything. In fact, almost every country we've spoken about during these tastings has started with, they're one of the oldest wine-producing nations in the world. They've been going for about 5,000 years. It's all to do with the Greeks, the Romans, the Phoenicians, the whoever. So, but truly are definitely Greek origin, a lot of the vines.
Yeah. And so the white wine here that we were drinking, and the grape variety is called Budariescu. No, it's not. That's the name of the winery, Budariescu. The grape variety is Tameosa Romanescu. But it's originated from Muscat. So we have the Greeks to thank for that, in actual fact. Mm-hmm. And it actually is quite interesting that it does have that sort of kind of like aromatic, sort of floral, not so much aromatic. That would probably be going down the Gewürztraminer
There's
lane.
a bit of it though.
But Muscat is a lot more floral. So people who like wines that are nice and light, just light and kind of quite delicate with sort of like flowery stuff. This is a really nice wine.
It is. It's kind of it has, if you like Gewürztraminer, dry Gewürztraminer, then this is definitely a really good option. Just a few good evenings. Hi Kerry, hi Alice, hi Penny.
Good evening everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Hi Michelle. Sorry, Finn didn't dress up for the occasion, but he has managed to pop a balloon in the process. Yeah. And we were trying to get some fangs, but short of fangs, we ended up
no fangs
going
at the
just
moment.
for the Halloween makeup, really. But it's kind of Joker, but still, it's a celebration. It's a party. It's the end of season,
indeed,
but not the end forever.
No.
We hasten to add.
Indeed.
So I'm just going to talk about the food that I suggest for this wine.
Please do.
And I'm going to give you one to taste whilst I talk about it.
Okay.
So crunch quietly. And now this is going to be problematic because Finn has got his eyes on the michi. So just to show you our little platter, these are nearest to you are the Thai mango salad custards, and then those are the michi, which are kind of Romania's answer to kofta, or kofta are Turkey's answer to Romanian michi.
So what am I having? One of these little chaps?
Yeah, one of those. So it's a Thai mango salad custard. So,
I've just dropped half of it. Sorry about that.
So what you've got is really a little bit of sweetness, although typically supermarket perfectly ripe mangoes are basically perfectly unripe and perfect for this canapé. So not too sweet mango with some red onion, bit of lime juice, coriander. So there's a bit of aromatics in there. A little hint of sweetness, but not too much because the wine's quite dry.
But it sits also nicely comfortably with the aromatics of the wine.
Hopefully.
And for anybody who's been watching this, we always harp on about the importance of the style of the food. And, just a little sort of reiteration really that actually the matching is simple. Match the wine with the food. So if you've got an aromatic wine, you want aromatic food. If you've got floral wine, put something slightly floral in it, like the coriander, and it just lifts. It basically comes together sort of negates or harmonizes even, and creates this sort of perfect sort of scenario of wine and food. I mean, I hope that over the last sort of 4 or 5 months, and 35 of these, 35, anybody who didn't hear us say that before, 35 of these lockdown live tastings we've been doing all over the world. We've had sort of all sorts of recipe ideas, and the importance of putting the right food with the right wine. If you get it wrong, it really kind of it ruins the food, it ruins the wine. I had a bad experience, we had a bad experience in a steakhouse, no less, where you'd think, the steak was phenomenal, the wine was appalling, and it ruined the meal.
And believe it or not, this was a Malbec with a steak, but the Malbec was just bad, and it was down the list, we weren't scrimping.
So what we've tried to do is we've put all the recipes as we can possibly remember on the website. If you go to HannibalBrown.com and look up recipes, it's in the drop down. You've got all sorts of ideas that go with specific wines, and indeed, in actual fact, in each of the descriptions of each wine, go to the bottom of the wine description, and there are sort of food suggestions, and those food suggestions are specifically designed to go with that wine. They're not just plonked in there.
Saying that, we did go through them all about 6 months ago, and I went through all the red wines thinking, we'll just update these, and I had about 10 in a row, which was all about grilled lamb chops, and I think we must have done them one summer when we were on a big grilled lamb chops phase. So, but do have a look, definitely. I'm just going to go back to a little bit of Romania here.
Yes, please do.
Okay, so that was the map. There is Romania, big green blob. Look, it's got Black Sea coast. It's got beach resorts. It's got ski resorts. This country is, it's got hills as high as 2,500, mountains as high as 2,500 meters. It's got Europe's second largest river running through it. Start to pretend, everyone. What is that river?
Oh, yes. Good question.
What is that river?
Good question.
And if I just go to the actual map of Romania to give you a better idea of where these wines are from within the country. Now we've remembered exactly where it is.
There we go.
Here we go. So the green area, in fact, I'm just going to zoom in a little bit on that, because here we go. So you got Transylvania, which we're all aware of, is that we're going to come back to that. But the green area underneath is a region called, or it begins with W, what's called?
Oh, Valencia or something.
Yeah, well, anyway. And Delamare, that red blob, just pretty much in the middle of your screen, that is where these wines are from.
Yeah.
Go on.
So the winery is called Buduriesca. And so it's kind of interesting. So how old is Romania? Well, as a land, it's been there forever. But in actual fact, Romania itself, I mean, this is quite mind-blowing, But Romania itself only really started voting, in first elections post-war in 1990. And so, and then it became a member of the EU in 2007.
Mm-hmm.
And I mentioned that because this winery particularly was pretty much 100% EU funded. And that's quite something for a winery. I tell you, it's never going to happen in the UK. Well, it's certainly not going to happen now.
Not with EU money, that's for sure.
But Buduriesca was actually, it opened its doors first to the public in 2006. So, it's very, very recent, and it considers itself to be one of the most modern wineries, possibly in Europe. You've got a picture of it.
So this is, just so you know, this is the wine on the left, the Tamaiosa Romaniesca,
the white, yes.
Which is the name of the grape. So otherwise known as our Romanian white.
Yes.
Not our only one, we'll come to that.
Yeah.
So let's just pull up a picture of the Buduriesca winery, which is really, modern
something.
And quite Romanian.
Yeah, but a lot of thought has gone into this.
How's that?
So look at it. I mean, it looks like, well, it doesn't look like the Starship Enterprise, but it does look something like, straight out of a James Bond set. Interestingly, 3 of its sides, so the 3 sides that you don't see are actually underground. So they've been sort of created into the land to basically just sort of retain the sort of the environment a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It has quite a significant capacity because they didn't go small here. They went, EU money, might as well make good use of it.
Yeah, let's go.
So they have a capacity for something like 1.5 million cases of wine. They're not at that point yet, but they are producing stunningly good wines. And I suppose characteristically, Buduriesca is always going to be quite sort of polished style. Polished, what I mean is kind of quite, there's nothing sort of leathery about either their whites or their reds. Just very, very clean, in this case, floral characteristics. Just nice, light, refreshing. They do slightly sweeter wines, but these are sort of medium dry to dry, really. I mean, I think they are on dry.
This is dry. This is dry.
Yeah.
And actually, I think it goes really well with the Thai mango salad. So do give it a go. Just want to say thanks, Jill, for the nod to noticing it's the Dracula look and not just some unseasonal fancy dress. And Michelle Clark, bang on. Yes, it is the Danube.
Well done.
The Danube runs all the way along the sort of Bulgarian border from that little bit of coastline of Romania.
Well done.
Through sort of Eastern Central Europe.
Yeah. And the other thing also to say about this, so the Tamaiosa Romanesco, don't get caught up about the grape variety. Think of it as muscat.
Romanian muscat.
It's one of the oldest grape varieties in the world, if not the oldest. That's something, actually. It survived that nasty little bug called phylloxera. So whilst this winery is very, very young, its vines have capacity. Some of these vines incredibly old. And yeah, what else to say about it? Goes great with the
go with Thai sort of aromatic kind of food.
Yeah,
your Thai curries, maybe even slightly spicier, maybe even the sort of coconutty end of Indian / Sri Lankan food as well. So a really good food wine for things which have quite a few aromatics.
Yeah. Something else in our portfolio actually to think about. If you're thinking along those lines, Bon Courage Gewürztraminer. So Gewürztraminer is more sort of, aromatic, but it's a dry wine from South Africa. It's bone dry, lovely with spice, sort of like Indonesian spice, curry
Southeast
spice,
Asian
Indian spice.
Yeah.
And I think this would also go quite nicely with sort of Indian food, maybe Malay curries. That's
sort of going sort of Southeast Asian kind of style, definitely.
Yeah. I was just looking at the prices.
I just want to go back to
go for it.
A little bit of Romania's history, because again, you don't see a lot of Romanian wines on the market. Back in the 90s was about the peak of UK imports of Romanian wine. Yeah. But prior to that, they were a very, very big bulk producer. And then wine production almost stopped. You right there, big guy?
He's all right.
Then wine production sort of stopped there for quite a long time. And once the communism disappeared in sort of late 80s, 89 or whatever it was, suddenly there was big investment in Romania to get it back up and running. But get it back up and running more as a sort of quality over quantity production.
Yeah.
Now, quantity is where you still get big commercialism and where the country will rely on money coming in. But it's definitely edging towards quality now. So when you do see Romanian wines, not on the bottom shelf of Aldi, but, pitched at a reasonable price point, give them a go, because actually there's a big movement at the moment. And they should
it makes me wonder, actually, because, they have struggled to get their exports, really going into other European countries such as ourselves. And I mean, those nasty Germans in 1939, here's something,
Well, we can't call them all nasty anymore. That's wrong.
No. In 1939, I mean, the Germans in 1939 put a monopoly on all Romanian exports in return for protecting Romanians' borders. So Romania essentially sort of held on to their borders and their sort of like isolated sort of, what would you call it, like country, if you like, in return for giving 100% of all their exports to Germany. That was in 1939. Obviously, things have changed since then. But it does make you wonder, actually, is it a throwback to, the export markets just weren't open for them then, and they're still just like working on it? I don't know.
But it has to be said that from a quality perspective, and from going back to the climate and the quality of the product that they're producing, they are on the same latitude as some big wine producing areas, right?
Oh my goodness me! So actually, this area, which is literally south of the sort of the Carpathian Mountains. It is like just on the. It's in Transylvania, and they share the same parallel, the 45-degree parallel with Bordeaux. So arguably, every reason, every right to be able to produce just as good, if not better.
Climate-wise should be happy days.
Yeah. They're just, I don't know, in terms of marketing, just not quite there. And yet the presentation is fantastic.
And it's pretty lovely.
And it's jolly nice. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers,
Happy
everybody.
Thursday.
So anybody who's just joined us, this is Hannibal Brown. It's our 35th lockdown live wine
event. This is what you look
evening.
Like after 35 wine events and 3 months of, well, actually 4 months of lockdown. Actually, that's a good point. Just quickly mention that obviously lockdown is easing a little bit now, and we are trying to work out how we can see all you lovely people in the flesh and bring our wines out and have you tasting the canapés in reality and not having to cook them all yourself. So do watch this space, because we really do want to hold a real life wine tasting soon.
We have a couple of ideas, actually. Should we share them now? Well, whatever happens, it is going to be in the autumn. They're probably going to be outside. You will be the first to be invited.
Early autumn.
One of them is going to be possibly on the water, which we're working on at the moment.
Now that we will shout about. So this morning we were, we're feeling very virtuous because we went out paddleboarding on the Thames this morning with a lovely lady called Rachel, who's set up a business during lockdown. And it was a wonderful experience. Such a lovely way to wake up. Beautiful morning. Went out very calmly, paddled up the Thames and back down again, a few kilometres. And we're talking about putting together a sort of evening which involves paddleboarding followed by wine tasting. So almost like a sunset paddleboard. It's not that, it's not such a high level of exertion that you'll be wiped out. It was pretty calm.
So anybody who fancies getting on the Thames, doing a little bit of spot of paddleboarding, followed by a spot of wine tasting on a beautiful boat on the river.
Near Kingston.
Then just shout now, because we are just working on it at the moment. Hopefully it'll be sort of September, October time before it gets too nippy.
It'll be limited numbers, but it'll be really fun. And we hopefully we will get another tasting going at the same time.
Yeah.
Should we have a little bit of move on to Castellum?
I think we should. I think we should, because this is the big boy. And we do talk about, it is summer and it is white wine season, but actually
it's also barbecue season. And this Castellum Dracula, this wine here, what brilliant branding. Just love that.
Thank you very much.
And B, what a delicious wine. This is another indigenous grape, because we wanted to bring you indigenous grapes from Romania, because we could have bought you a Romanian Cabernet Sauvignon, but that's just not so interesting. And you know how we are. We like to mix things up a bit. That's why we look like this evening. So the grape variety in this lovely wine is called Fetasca Negra.
Yeah, Fetasca Negra.
Depending on whether you're in Italian or not.
Now, how do you describe it? Well, let's put our noses in and just have a chat about
it.
So,
as always, wine tasting. If you can decant it in advance, great. We open this well in advance. Give it a big old massive swirl in the glass.
Yeah, and also just a reminder, anybody who's sort of been struggling keeping their wines cold in the summer, because we still got quite a few sort of summer evenings to go. Don't put your hand on the glass, because an awful lot of heat in your hand. Keep your fingers on the stem, and it will keep your wine a lot colder for a lot longer.
Sound advice.
So this Fetasca Negra, it's kind of quite individual. However, it has all the connotations of a kind of like a Bordeaux style grape variety, or possibly even Pinot Noir, which is Burgundy. It's kind of all over the place, but it has got that sort of smoothness, which is derived from its oak. It has been oak aged in Romanian barrels, and French barrels in actual fact, but Romanian barrels. And I mention Romanian barrels because they are one of the world's best kept secrets. Remember, we said that Romania is, or Diala Mare, where these wines are from, sort of sits on the same parallel as Bordeaux, and so do the oak trees from which they come. So the oak trees are just as good, but a hell of a lot cheaper. Well, it's one of the winemaker's best kept secrets for that reason.
Because we know that a lot of, well, let's generalize and say red wines, the cheaper end of the scale, where they are oaked to give a rich vanilla-y flavour, because it's way too expensive to use real French oak barrels. There's lots of other alternatives. For example, oak chips go in just to give the flavour, just to draw them through, pull a bit of woodiness and then get rid of them. Even powder.
Yeah, I know. Not great.
Even stirred with sticks.
Yeah.
Batons. Yeah. Just to get a bit like your fence post. Yeah. Just get a bit of woodiness in there, get rid of it.
It works.
Pop it on the mark. It does work, but it's not quite as authentic. But there we go. So we know that Romanian oak.
What I like about this wine
go on,
is the tannins are nice and smooth. So remember, the tannins are the things that dry your palate out. I like these tannins. They're always quite vanilla-y as well. Anybody who's tasting it, it's kind of like got this sort of vanilla-y and all smokiness. That could be a barbecue outside, but I think it's smoky.
It's almost like a Cabernet Sauvignon Pinot Noir.
Cabernet Franc Pinot Noir. Everything, really.
But it's not...
Bit of Syrah.
It's not heavy, but I think if you like your big classic wines, you'll like this. Now, the food pairing.
Yes, let's go food.
So we're properly Romanian on this, and the dog is going to go absolutely mental. Mici. Mici are, as I said earlier, Romanian meatballs. Is it?
Kofta.
Romanian kofta.
And I just like to... Oh, sorry.
Or kofta are Turkish mici.
Aha.
If you can get your head around that.
And a little shout out for this beautiful basil leaf, which is homegrown.
Spinach. Oh,
is it?
Yeah.
Oh, get that then.
Shout out withdrawn.
It looks like a Dracula-esque basil leaf.
So mici, I'm just going to talk about mici for a moment.
Okay.
Because when I was doing a little bit of research about Romanian food, it's kind of like that Romanians love their food. They're all about a big banqueting table. They're not sit down and we'll serve you 3 courses. They are fill the table and nibble on everything.
I want to go instantly.
Almost tapas style.
I want to go down there instantly.
And it's like one of their specialities is lamb, pork, fish, beef, everything. But when you're looking at a big red wine, these are great. And actually, they're not like kofta because you put beer in them and stock. And you end up with almost a paste, which you have to form into these little sausagey shapes. And then get them on the barbie.
But you know what works? The smoothness of the tannins and the smoothness of these. The flavours are really so
Keep
smooth.
Talking. I'm going to try it.
Go for it.
Wine, remember? Sorry.
It's interesting, actually, this Fetiesca Negra. It doesn't have an awful lot of colour. So when you instantly look at it, you think, ooh, it's not going to be very full-bodied. I wouldn't say it's like a massive, great beast of a wine. I think it's kind of quite medium to heavy. But I think it goes beautifully with these because they are, again, sort of slightly smooth, a little bit more delicate.
Meaty, but not, too heavy because they're half pork and half beef mince.
Half pork and half beef for all those vegans out there.
Obviously, this could be repeated with mushrooms and aubergines.
And you know what? Okay, so just to shout out. So this is the Castellum Dracula. It's a lovely name for a wine. In actual fact, the Dracula winery from Transylvania. And is there a gimmick to it? Well, not really. But then at the end of the day, the Dracula legends have been around forever. And why not build on it?
Let's have a look at the label, eh?
Yeah. Pull up the label and I'll just see. So there you go. How much more Draculesque can you get? $15.95 on our website. Go on to Hannibal Brown, bang on Romania. You'll see a few other wines up there. There's another couple of wines there called Noble 5. Noble 5 is a reference to 5 different grape varieties.
5 noble grape varieties, in fact.
5 noble grape varieties. A bigger style totally compared to this wine. And there is also the white noble as well.
The noble white, yeah. So actually the noble 5 is reminiscent of a sort of quite a big Bordeaux. Yeah. And the noble white has actually got hints of Burgundy about it. They're really stunning and the bottles are fantastic. So I thought...
Can I just also say, actually, if anybody's not tasting this and wants to know a little bit more about it, think about Casas del Bosque Carmenere. It's going down that kind of similar route which is a little bit of smokiness and lots of fruit. I think the Carmenere is bigger.
Yeah.
This is more medium.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. So I thought just to, obviously we are all about wine, but we are sitting here with our Joker's
face paint on.
Joker face paint on. So I should really give a nod to the man himself.
Dracula.
And one interesting fact is obviously Bram Stoker created Dracula.
Everybody knows where Bram Stoker's from.
Okay, the second starter for 10. Where is Bram Stoker
Where is
from?
Bram Stoker from?
And in the meantime, Bram Stoker's book Dracula it has never been out of print. Never been out of print since it was written in
1870 or something?
1897.
1897.
And it's never been out of print. I mean, that's quite impressive.
That's up there with, what's the name? What's the name?
What, Harry Potter lady?
No. Well, yeah, her as well. But yeah, she'll be going for it in the next 100 years. No, Murder on the Orient Express.
Oh, Agatha Christie.
Agatha Christie.
Yeah, but older, surely older.
Yeah.
But okay. Oh, hang on. Here we go. There's a couple of questions.
California. No.
Keep them coming. Keep them coming. So a few interesting
London.
facts.
No.
A few interesting facts about.
Whitby. No.
You read the questions in your mind, and I'll just give you some interesting facts. Okay. A few interesting facts. So some say that Transylvania sits on the world's strongest magnetic field.
It does.
Which gives people these extrasensory perception powers.
I love it.
Some people say.
Yeah.
And there's these crossroads where on St. George's Day, and actually in the evening of St. Andrew's Day, vampires hang out on the corner.
I know. You've got to be careful. You've got to be careful.
So
watch out for those crossroads.
Don't go there then. So just 23rd of April and 29th of November, probably really cheap flights to Romania, actually. So Bram Stoker came up with Dracula, and he was the character sort of came from Vlad the Impaler, which I'm sure you all know. Actually, Vlad had a few names. He wasn't really called Vlad the Impaler until posthumously he was called Vlad Tepes, and in Romanian Impaler. Tepes is the Impaler.
Yeah.
Because he was a right old pain in the arse.
Yeah.
Like when
he was like a squire.
Well, he was a prince of the region, right? He was a prince of. Let me just tell you what the region is called, because I keep forgetting the name. Oh yeah, Wallachia, probably pronounced slightly differently. But back in the 1450s, 1460s, and he did used to impale prisoners on spikes and just stand them around the edge of the town, really. So back when
nice chap,
lovely. When the Ottomans, the Turks were coming in to try and attack and take over, they actually got to his city, and there was about 20,000 bodies impaled on posts all the way around the outside, and they just stopped and went, actually, all right, we'll go back and we'll choose somewhere else. So he is kind of credited to being a bit of a savior from the Turks during those times of Ottoman invasion.
Yeah.
So he's sort of a prince, a savior, and a sadistic madman.
But also going down the mythical route. So
go on.
Dracula in Gaelic.
Do they have an Irish Dracula?
Was it Gaelic?
Colchester. Is that sorry,
no, he's not from Colchester. Dracula in Gaelic, Dracula means bad blood. So there you go. How interesting is that? Now I've just given you a
clue.
A little clue there, actually, of the origins of Bram Stoker.
And then I'm going to go back to Vlad.
Yeah.
So Vlad was also known as Vlad Dracul, and his father was known as
Hercule.
Dracul. Dracul.
Yeah.
And that used to be translated as dragon, but actually, sort of over time, has changed its meaning to evil or devil, understandably, because this guy was a sadistic madman. So he in his time managed to impale around about 100,000 people. Pretty nasty, but probably the Romanian tourism has benefited over the last few hundred years.
Thrived on it.
And actually, maybe
You
that
planted
is
a
the lifeblood, excuse the pun.
And look at all these wonderful castles. Let's show a few castles. Anybody who's not been to Romania, I mean, it looks like the most stunning country. And obviously, who knows whether they've got a quarantine thinking, well, they probably have, Dracula.
Oh, they are in the middle of an absolute disaster.
Are they really?
Look, here's Vlad.
Just a little. There he is.
Here we go. That's Vlad. So it doesn't really look like the Joker at all. But there we go. We couldn't dress up like that. So we've done what we can.
Let's show the castle, Dracula's castle.
Yeah,
Come on, there's
I had
plenty
a
of castles
slight
there.
problem with the old castle in that it was sort of postage stamp size. So we might not have it. But what we can show you is a couple of really cool photos. Like this, because I want to go back to Romania, because Romania is a really cool country.
Okay.
So, this is Romania. And to make this slightly bigger for Pam, she's sitting here trying to look at this.
There we go.
This is Romania, right? This is Romania. Ski resorts, lakes, mountains.
Castles
that we don't have photos of. And then this is Romania. Let's not forget, it's got a coastline on the Black Sea, the KGB holiday on the Black Sea.
Oh, here we go.
But usually more like Sochi. This is Romania.
Oh my goodness me, look at that.
It's got a tiny little bit of coastline, but it's white sandy beaches, and the Black Sea is a phenomenal place to holiday. So we aren't being sponsored by the Romanian Tourist Board, but we definitely are banging the drum for going there. And also,
but can I also say, in actual fact, Transylvania, actually what's the word?
I don't know.
It translates to country of forests, which gives you an idea of actually what it's like. So going back to, all that barrel production, which is coming from the oaks of the Carpathian forests, it is incredibly green, very, very mountainous. And it sets itself perfectly for corks, although they don't produce an awful lot of corks.
Maybe it's coming.
It's
coming next.
But they do have the most incredible forests, which produce great oak barrels. So what was I going to say? So this is 1595. It's on the website hannibalbrown.com. If you're looking for some similarities, then think of Casas del Bosque Carmenere.
Even Santiago Pinot Noir, Chilean Pinot Noir, which has got
a little similarity. And also, I just want to sort of a little bit of a shout out for Jonty's Ducks, which anybody who listened last week will, and anybody who's tasted them will possibly remember that the red, which is also a kind of an interesting blend, a little bit more depth than this wine, but actually again on that sort of similarity. It's similar
a bit bigger, but very, very delicious.
Yeah. Jonty's Ducks, 1825 for the red and the white. What else?
Big shout outs. Well, I think we're going to be rounding up now. And, we do need to just say a big thank you to everyone. Oh, and a quick, I think, was he born in Dublin?
Well done.
Well done,
Yes, he's no, sorry. Yes, he was.
Okay, so maybe, well done. But we have really enjoyed these tastings. Like, it's seen us through lockdown, and I hope they've seen you guys through lockdown as well. Thank you all. Everyone who's canapéed along, who's wined along with us, who's commented and just generally joined in. Absolutely brilliant. We will keep doing them, but we're having a short break for now. So back in September with the ultimate Rioja producer.
Yes, Pedro Urbina. You've got to watch it. He's so good looking. It's unbelievable. But he's also the most incredibly talented winemaker. And his wines, the sort of uniqueness about his wines is that he holds his wines back in his cellars until he considers they're ready, which means that we now have access to vintages that go back to 1994. And they're already on the website. So look at Urbina, Urbina.
Yep, so in 94, 99, 2006, and there are other vintages, but those are the ones we did because they're fab. So he will be joining us for our resurgence into the online tastings. But we will let you know, watch this space, we will let you know as and when. But big thank you for
Yeah,
joining.
thanks everybody for sort of watching in. It's been an absolute blast. As I said, 35 of these lockdown live tastings we have done.
And this is how you'll remember us. But really, we've thoroughly enjoyed them, but we are going to be back in the flesh.
Yeah.
With real life canapés, with wines that are poured at a safe distance, and possibly after a little supping or paddleboarding session on the Thames. Watch this space.
Yeah, anything that you want to hear from us, please let us know. We love feedback, and in actual fact, in the last few months, everything has changed for everybody, and we've kind of having to change our sort of plans going forwards. We're not really sure what we're going to be doing, but we know we're still going to be talking to you, and we're desperately going to get these tastings going on. But if there's anything that you want to see from us, then just don't be afraid. Just tell us. But most importantly, buy our wine. Support us. We need your support.
Don't go back to supermarkets. That's just boring.
Yeah.
But thank you, Alice. Yeah, good point. Thursdays will be quiet, but Fridays will be more productive. Probably for us as well.
Okay.
So
is it a wrap?
Cheers to everybody.
Finn
says bye. Finn, say bye.
Finn says cheerio.
Say bye.
Finn. Bye, Finn.
Bye.
Come on. There he is. Bye.
Bye. And we'll see you all on the other side of September.
All right. Stay in touch. Nice to see you, everybody.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Ching, ching.
Ching, ching.